Hey guys, welcome to No Say's Top 10, where we dive deep into the most memorable movies and TV moments. Today, we're breaking down Top Boy series in honor of the new release on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go check that out. We're then going to jump in and reveal our top 10 moments for Season 1, Episode 1. Before we delve into the heart of Top Boy, let's take a moment for a snapshot recap of this gripping drama set in the streets of East London. In the pilot episode of Top Boy, we're introduced to the world of Summerhouse, an East London housing estate where we can clearly see it struggling with crime, poverty, and just general social challenges. The episode centers around two main characters, Dushane and Sully, who are involved in the local drug trade. They navigate the dynamics and the neighborhood while basically trying to grow in status and gain more control of Summerhouse. We also meet Renell, who's a character who really looks up to Dushane, and also is a significant character who's introduced pretty early on in the episode. He does go on to play a key role, which we'll look further as we navigate through the season. We witness this struggle between the characters and sort of this fight for power. There's an element of rivalry amongst the characters and, amongst other areas as well. And really, it kind of just starts to define what life in Summerhouse is like. The episode just really starts to set the stage for, I guess, what we can at this point see to be a compelling narrative about ambition, survival, and just the general day-to-day life of the residents. So basically, there's a couple of young guys. They want to become top dogs, and from the way this episode frames it, this season shows us how they get there. Before we jump into the top 10, we do want to just take a moment to go through our honorable mentions that didn't quite make it to the top 10, but is worth highlighting for context. And one of those scenes that we see, it's Lisa, who is Renell's mom, who's going through a mental health crisis. Now, this is really important for us to know because her experience and her struggles really frames the character of Renell and his interactions with future characters, future decisions. So really, the dynamic of her storyline drastically impacts the decisions, the actions, and Renell's character in the long term. I think it's also worth mentioning for when this show is released, it's really, really interesting that they've chosen to highlight mental health so early on in the show. It's not only is it highlighted, it's actually a crucial part of the storyline. Because again, based on her struggles and what she's going through, it goes on to impact Renell, who very early on we can see is a main character. Another honorable mention is the scene where we see Sully and Dushane negotiating with Bobby to allow them to increase their supply. Again, didn't quite make it into a top 10, but it's worth noting this scene and this moment for context in terms of how quickly these two characters are looking to grow and just how fast they're trying to take control of the area. And this is important because some of the things that don't go quite well in the episode directly are impacted based on these decisions that they're taking in terms of risk, in terms of growth, and in terms of how quickly they can move this product. I guess in a way, it also just directly sets the tone for the kind of characters that they are. They are ambitious, they're gritty, and really what they want to do is grow and make money. And we can start to see that in these really early scenes right off the bat. Now you're all caught up, let's just go straight into our top 10. At number 10, we have Leon ask Dushane for a favor. And he basically says, please stay away from Renell. We see Sully is almost offended by the request and asks why Leon cares so much. However, at this point, we don't really have an understanding of Leon's past and what he is and where he's been. But there seems to be a mutual respect between Dushane and Leon, which leads Dushane to agree to staying away from Renell, which Sully isn't really happy about, but Dushane does relate to Sully. He does need to stay away and just leave it because it's more trouble than it's worth. At number 9, we see Renell's best friend Jem get pulled in for a job and basically given the opportunity to make some money. Dushane's boys show up to the school, get Jem in the car, and when Renell questions why he's not going, despite Dushane saying he was allowed to roll with the crew, Sully basically says, pull it up with Leon, which Renell is clearly unhappy about, so we'll see how that progresses. So at number 8, we have Heather's garden. We see Heather go into a full farmer mode as she decides to start her own farm. In this scene, we see there be an interaction between her and someone who we've come to know as Vincent, as he teaches her the ropes and shows her how she needs to set up her farm. There's also an initial interaction where Vincent very clearly shows an interest and says, listen, once the crop is ready, I'm willing to buy. So again, we start to see the assumption of where these characters are going because there's all these different storylines happening for each individual character. At number 7, Sully and Deshane pressure their way into a meeting with Bobby of Rake, the main supplier for their product. A relationship that was previously managed by a middleman named Lee, and after a few complications with a rival gang, they basically believe they can do a better job and go ahead and pitch themselves to Bobby directly, saying, let us have Summerhouse. Lee is obviously really fuming about this because they're cutting out the middleman. However, again, just a reflection of the boys' character, ambition, and how quickly they're willing to grow. At number 6, we have the big league. So in at number 6, Deshane and Sully managed to win over Bobby after jumping through a few fingers. Bobby agrees to work with them directly and says Lee has now been promoted within the business and Summerhouse is now theirs. Liz once again is upset by Bobby's decision, however, he does choose to stick by him. At number 5, the show begins with 4 characters being robbed at gunpoint. They do make a full phone call to Deshane to say, hey guys, we need backup, but unfortunately they're not able to get back in time. As the episode progresses, we go on to find out that the robbery was actually orchestrated by a character called Kamali, who goes on to become a crucial part of the storyline and a rival to both Sully and Deshane. At number 4, we refer back to one of our honorable mentions, which is when Lisa checks herself into a hospital due to her mental state. When she does check in, the first question they ask is, does she have any children? To which says no, as she's aware of the potential consequences of her saying that she does. When she does check in, she goes on to actually bump into a friend Leon, who works at the hospital and is aware of Renelle. He tells her don't worry and basically says he'll look after him. He goes on to meet Renelle and tells him, look, you can stay here and not go into care as long as you live by my rules and listen to the guidelines that I'm going to put in place for you to stay here. Which Renelle agrees to and says, as long as I don't go to care, I'll listen. We're now in our top 3 where we choose our pop, snack and combo moment for the episode. So in third place and our snack moment, we refer back to another honorable mention. And this is the scene in which Sully and Deshane go to Bobby and request an increase in product because they say they can handle the work. They plan to basically rent a trap house in which they plan to move product the entire night and basically get rid of it as quickly as possible. Everything is going to plan until they receive a call late at night saying we need product. When they go to open the door, they are once again robbed at gunpoint by Kamali and his boys. At this point, Sully is convinced there is a snitch, which leads him into a manhunt to try to find out who the snitch is. In second place and our combo moment, we see both Sully and Deshane pull up to Kamali and give him a subtle warning. They basically tell him, look, Summerhouse is now ours, we're running things, Lee is out, we're in, and your attitude and your actions are not going to cut it anymore. So basically, you need to stop it with the robbery thing. And despite Deshane's best intention to keep the conversation clean and subtle, Sully doesn't agree and without hesitation, without confirmation, goes on to stab Kamali and walk off. In first place, the pop moment, the one we couldn't go without, we have the right one. So as we previously saw, Sully and Deshane have pitched to Bobby the opportunity to run Summerhouse. Bobby goes on and decides to give them a job before deciding if they can have that opportunity. He simply hands them an envelope with a plier and a photo and basically with a comment that says, make sure it's the right one. The boys go on to size up the target and eventually capture him and cut the finger. However, Deshane very quickly realizes it's the wrong finger and not the right one, which was very, very important in the note that says, make sure it's the right finger. So they go back and do it again. Bobby's happy with the results of the job and gives them the key to the kingdom that we call Summerhouse. That's the top 10 for this episode, guys. As always, get involved. Let us know in the comments if these were your top 10 moments. If you had a different pop, snack and combo, really just get involved. We want to hear from you and we want to know what you think. So let's get into our final thoughts. At the end of the season, once we've watched the episodes for season 1 and put them all out here, for the last episode, we will go through critic reviews and viewers reviews and just see what the general public have been saying about season 1 as well, so we get a general grasp for whether it was good or not. I will just go ahead and give my final thoughts on each episode, so there's some context, but go ahead and make your own decisions and let me know in the comments whether this was an episode, was it a flop, was it hot, and let me know. So the thoughts on the episode overall, I think it was a really good episode. It really starts to set the scene and build the characters. We start to get a really understanding of their stories and what role they might potentially play on this this season, sorry. I do feel like there's some room for improvement with the acting, which I hope it progresses as we continue to watch the season. There are moments where the acting feels very timed and feels kind of amateurish. However, the storyline feels strong, the character development feels strong, so I'm hoping the acting does improve as it goes through. You can also just sort of tell that this is a low budget production. There are certain shots, certain things that you just feel could be a little bit better done. However, I do still think it's excellent. It obviously came out many years ago, so for its time, to be honest, when I first watched this, I actually watched it in school. So to be revisiting it so many years later with a different perspective on everything has been quite fun. So final thoughts, I do think it should be watched. Go ahead, have a watch. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you've watched the new season as well, I haven't watched it yet, so don't spoil it in the comments, but I will be doing a review and a top 10 moments for it. So just bear with me. But overall, I think it's worth a watch. I think it's a really good, really strong pilot episode. It really sets the scene, and it does just give us the opportunity to start to kind of preempt and start to assume what the storyline might be. That could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. It might mean it's too predictable, but we don't really know until we continue to watch the episodes. So let's see you guys here next week and go through episode 2. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share a meme, share a post, do something that inspires you to continue to engage in this podcast, YouTube channel, wherever you are watching this. Show some love. We'll see you guys next time. Ciao for now.